6 weeks of play, and your entire season can be made or broken here if you are from North America. Already in EU, we have seen who the top 4 teams are going to be. We still have to settle who's going to win this cup, but hey, to be honest, if you got to land, you're probably feeling pretty good right now. You get a short little Saturday off, then Sunday, you try to secure that bag. My name is Rich. I'm going to be your host as we look at all of these teams throughout North America that are going to try to do what we saw those top 4 teams do in Europe yesterday. Zico is going to be putting the critique on all of them, letting us know what they're doing right, letting us know what they're doing wrong. And then we got Supatis and Van Ruki to carry us through every single game of the day. Let's take a look, though, at what did happen yesterday. Let's take a look at our standings. The main reason that we are here today to try to figure out who those top squads really are going to be. And there's one thing that I do want to point out on the standings. As you can see, ABC is in goal, but it says that they only have 200 points. Basically, all of the points that you're going to see here, these are the points from when we entered the cup. We do know, though, that ABC Zico has qualified. They are in the top 4 teams. We just haven't added up all the numbers yet. So Meta Black, Wildcard Gaming, Changed My Mind, and ABC have made it thus far.
Yeah, and that's the top 4 for Europe. A lot of strong teams, and we are going to see, like you said, those final standings after the NA Cup has been decided as well, after that big double final on Sunday. And then, of course, over in North America, we got Super Frogs, the boys Method Orange. They're in gold. They're locked in to be going for that Springland. A lot of them are playing for the overall seeding as well as the seeding in the tournament. And then it's between Never Lucky, The Move, and the Mew Kitty Cats that we still have in today's tournament that are going to be battling it out for that 4th spot. Very, very close.
Yeah, this was a situation that's somewhat similar to what we did see yesterday as well, right? It's all about that battle for that final spot entering the LAN season. And as we can see, Mew Kitty Cats and Never Lucky are both going to be tested very early in the day.
Yeah, definitely. In that upper bracket still, those 2 teams are looking prime and in a great position, but there's 2 major teams standing in their way. Never Lucky is going to have to be battling up against the boys, and then, of course, M2KC, they're going to be going up against Super Frogs. Those will be very interesting matchups, and I think if neither Lucky or M2KC can manage to stay in that upper bracket, it's just going to be so important for them to actually qualify to that spring finals.
I definitely agree with you there. I think we potentially have a favorite as well. When I was talking to everybody today, when we were kind of just in the green room chatting about everything, Sid, it seems like you guys kind of think one team's going to be able to make it through a little bit easier than the others.
Yep, Mew Kitty Cats, I think, are in a good position to remain in the upper bracket. Facing down the Super Frogs, they're one of the only teams that can really go toe-to-toe with them. Their series are always very close. There's no way to guarantee who will come out ahead, but whereas when we look at Colo's team, Never Lucky, going against the boys, that win rate, not so good. It's very one-sided towards the boys. So if you're Mew Kitty Cats and you can remain in the upper bracket and stay in the upper final and avoid that deadly lower bracket as long as possible, you're setting yourself up for success. And if I was betting today, I'm betting on the Mew Kitty Cats taking that 4th spot.
Don't do that, though. Don't do that. Don't do that. When we do look, though, at what could happen if you stay in the upper, it just seems like you've secured yourself the win if another team isn't able to do it. It would be a huge upset if we saw both of these teams that are going for that 4th spot stay in upper. I think that would be one of the craziest scenarios that we could have, but then you do fall into a place where fate is completely in your own hands. If you can take down your opponent, you find yourself in a position where maybe you can make it. Super Frogs versus Mew Kitty Cats, that's where we're going to start. Then after that, it's time for the boys against Never Lucky. You know, I think I want that pandemonium, all-out chaos scenario of Mew Kitty Cats versus Never Lucky in upper. I really want to see that because Jamili, Colo, these guys, they like to dance the dance of
friendship.
Revenge.
No, they really like each other.
Revenge.
Yeah, they like to dance the dance of camaraderie and, you know, spirit of competition, Rich.
The dance of destruction.
It's a little bit too bad that both of them can't go. I kind of want to like force them to hug each other.
It's a little bit sad that we can't see both of them go because they're both great teams to watch. I think that's one of the things. When you do look at NA, we still have the move as well. Like, we have a lot of teams that are really fun to watch in North America that we want to see go through. Only 4 spots, though. Let's talk about this first matchup with the Mew Kitty Cats. Everybody talking about the Mew Kitty Cats potentially making it. It's not because they're necessarily a stronger team than Never Lucky. It's not necessarily because they're a stronger team than the move, but they have an incredible bracket today. I think that's one of the most important things to touch on.
Well, M2KC is actually the team that sent Super Frogs to the lower bracket just 2 weekends ago in Cup number 5. So this is a team they've done head-to-head before, and Mew Mew Kitty Cats actually came out ahead in a 3-2. The final match ended up being Rogue Mage Paladin versus Rogue Mage Druid, and Jamili's team, Mew Mew Kitty Cats, ended up getting the better end of that exchange. And that might be exactly what we see when we see these two teams go head-to-head once again. It's going to be a battle of that Rogue Mage, Jamili and Roasty versus Snuts and Wealthy Man, if it does come down to that.
That is the best logo in World of Warcraft esports history.
Ooh.
The Mew Mew Kitty Cats with one of the coolest logos I've ever seen. You can vote for them right now in the chat with the hashtag M2KC. Or you vote for the Super Frogs, the strongest team in North America, with the hashtag SF.
Yeah, and this is really interesting because, like I said, when they did go head-to-head with those Rogue Mage mirrors, M2KC ended up coming out ahead. But now Super Frogs, they're adapting and they're showing that they can actually play these cleave setups as well. And in the past, Mew Mew Kitty Cats, they have really struggled with this Demon Hunter Death Knight composition.
Yeah, the double melee composition is an archetype that the Super Frogs have now in their back pocket, but let's see how they perform in a tournament setting. This is really the first time we'll see Snuts and Channel playing Demon Hunter and Death Knight side by side. Fortunately, you've got Cubsy healing you, so even though they're playing on alternate classes, they can rely on him for solid defense and great shot calling to extend the match out to what will likely be a mana rift strategy from Snuts. So far, decent damage onto Jamili early on, but no cooldowns forced from Rubcub. Cubsy's mana not looking like it's in the greatest of situations right now. Snuts getting stunned up as the team of M2KC go after him, bursting him down to half. How is he going to respond? Snuts in position, reverse magic the polymorph on Cubsy. Good teamwork, breaking up the crowd control chain, staying in the fight, now looking to get aggressive.
Yeah, it can be very difficult for the Rogue Mage Paladin setup to get aggressive against this composition. What Super Frogs is bringing is a very durable setup. The Demon Hunter and the Death Knight, they provide a lot of self-healing that's difficult for the Rogue Mage to really penetrate through, at least in the early stages of the game before dampening really kicks in.
Chanimal staying on target. Jamili doing a phenomenal job of just avoiding both Chanimal and Snuts throughout. Potentially they could win on mana. We see a swap to Cubsy as M2KC go for a surprise attack. The kill appears to have been denied, potentially. If there's multiple Gladiators Maledicts to follow up after this, maybe not. The anti-magic zone is now faded. The darkness may not be enough as Cubsy barely holds on. Massive cooldown overlap on the side of the Super Frogs, and if M2KC can make a swap like that again in the future, Cubsy could easily go down.
Yeah, definitely. With no Barkskin, Ironbark, Trinket, Darkness, and overlapped with the anti-magic zone, things are not looking good here for the Super Frogs. As we've seen, the Restoration Druid is definitely the most vulnerable target. Hammer of Justice out of a kidney shot, and that's it. M2KC really exploiting Super Frogs, maybe not playing this composition at the highest level just yet, and putting the first point on the board.
A good sign, though, from Super Frogs all in all, that they are willing to diversify even more when they're headed into LAN. Already secure with 540 points, but this is what we were talking about with the Mew Mew Kitty Cats, and we didn't even get to fully talk about them. One of the things brought up is they had a strong bracket. When we look at this team, we know that they can go head-to-head with the strongest squad in NA. Pretty good omen for a team that's trying to crack that top 4. But Zico, as we do look at this game right now and talk about everything that unfolded, I want to actually, because I said it's not because Mew Mew Kitty Cats are cut above those other teams. There are like basically 3 teams that are trying to get that spot today. I said it's not because they are cut above. It's because they have a good bracket that we predict them to go through, but are they a cut above? I didn't mean it that they weren't, but I kind of was saying you can exclude what their actual ranking is amongst those teams just looking at the bracket. It looks like they can move through. But do you think that this is the strongest team out of the 3 when you look at the entire field of play?
If we would have like a super neutral bracket where it didn't matter, I know that's pretty much impossible, but
yeah.
I would still rank the Move as the better team, and then I would rank Mew Mew Kitty Cats right under them, and then I would rank Never Lucky. I think I made that prediction last week, actually, saying that if I was cheering for NA in the Springland, then I would want the 3 teams that are already qualified, and then the Move or the Mew Mew Kitty Cats. And this swap right here on Cubsy, first of all, he can't be getting caught out of form like that when he has no defensives available. But also, Cubsy actually made a big error before this when he trinketed the blind. He trinketed the blind when no Vendetta was committed and no Combustion was committed. No Maledicts were committed. No offense was committed. They just blinded him. Then they didn't even reconnect to their target, which was Snuts. and he immediately responded with his trinket. Cubsy shown a little bit too much respect there for that blind. You can definitely wait out, 2 or 3 seconds, or even wait for the sap or the Ring of Frost, and then trinket when some damage has actually been committed, and you can avoid that situation entirely.
Yeah, a very important thing to look at, but also just looking at the numbers now, being up by 1 going to be huge for the Mew Mew Kitty Cats. A pretty good way to start off the day for them. And if they can send Super Frogs down, that's going to just decimate what is going on in the lower side of the bracket and allow them to kind of reign supreme on that winner's side. What do you think the rest of the series looks like? Because we do see the Super Frogs do something that I don't think we expected.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. Super Frogs, like we kind of mentioned, bringing in that melee cleave for the first time really we've seen in these cups. But this is one of those matchups where I don't think the blind pick really matters as much as M2KC normally only run with that Rogue Mage Paladin setup. They do have Rosita Jones as their 4th member. We haven't really seen him be implemented just yet, but I think if Super Frogs can clean up their strategy and kind of find a solid answer for this Rogue Mage Paladin, they can definitely start swinging things in their favor, and I don't think it's going to be one of those matchups where it goes back and forth on the blind pick.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like it's in the middle of the series. If Super Frogs figures out how to win, they're going to be sticking to that composition, right? But Supatees, I do think, once again, having momentum is going to be important when you look at the fact that last time the series was played out, it goes all the way to a Game 5, correct?
Yeah, but this was not even with the Demon Hunter Death Knight composition. Although now we're starting to see at least one weakness in the composition is the switching to the Restoration Druid, or the pressure on the Restoration Druid. If you can really call it a weakness, it's more of make the other team panic and overreact. In that situation, they used too many defensive cooldowns, and then Cubsy got caught again immediately after the diminishing return. So if you make these are very big mistakes that we don't typically see from a team like the Super Frogs, which is normally why these matches will go on for some time. But if you do make those big mistakes and Mew Kitty Cats are on their game, they can look to punish. So moving forward, this could be Super Frogs questioning whether or not they're capable of playing this composition at the highest level, making 0 mistakes, or if they should go back with something that they've got more practice on. And I'm curious to see what they decide to do, because Ashamane's Fall is the map, and if they were intending to play a melee cleave setup, this doesn't make too much sense for a melee cleave comp.
I think it's interesting as well what you're touching on with the comps. Super Frogs, they've been playing the Roguelog Druid a lot, and the Warlocks got nerfed, so they've already been having kind of 50-50 games against Mew Mew Kitty Cats with that Roguelog Druid, and now that comp is weaker. So I think that's a big reason to why they swapped over as well to the DK Demon Hunter, trying to branch out a little bit. It seems to me, at least, that picking the Destro Warlock is a bad sign for the Super Frogs, since in previous games it has been going back and forth, and now it's supposed to be even worse. So the odds should be in Mew Mew Kitty Cat's favor if they go for a Warlock comp.
Yesterday was a bad day for Warlocks, too. Yesterday really was a bad day for Warlocks in EU as well. Really? The thing is I don't think we're going to see as many Warlocks today in NA, but even with those changes, with it being a little bit weaker, there definitely is a place for Warlocks. I think Super Frogs overall will still be able to use that to their advantage time and time again. Are we going to see double Destro? I doubt it. I think that there are probably far fewer situations where you are going to use that. And yeah, there's Super Frogs going to stick with the melee cleave here. Do you think that there is any chance, though, in this particular series that we do see a Warlock? I think that's one of the important things to talk about when we look at what the Mew Mew Kitty Cats have. And Zico brings up the idea of when they were using Warlocks against this team already, it wasn't looking like it was an easy matchup at all.
Well, here's one of the things about this particular matchup is I really do feel like with the way we've seen it played out, Super Frogs should 100% win. I think if they're playing it on an even level, I don't really see Super Frogs losing the series if it is just a back and forth with these two compositions consistently over and over. But I do like that Super Frogs decided to lock in this cleave setup once again. Like we said, that's kind of their debut with this double melee, and I think it would have been a huge, for me at least, it would have showed that they're not confident at all in this setup if they decided to swap off it so early on, just after one game of making, like Sid said, some really big mistakes. If they clean that up, I really feel like they can go the distance
also,
with M2KC.
Yeah, I think you got to bring up the fact, too, Super Frogs can kind of do whatever the heck they want right now. Obviously, your points are going to matter for the entire year, but they got 540 points. And they're on the top side of the bracket. They're already qualified. This is a team where they don't completely have the answer. get some practice punches in before LAN. The main thing is you are kind of determining, in a way, who you will be playing against potentially at LAN. But you got to figure this out. You want to have a comp like this here. If they do drop down, they can try something else against other teams that they've expressed their dominance against time and time again. By all means, Super Frogs, splash around in that pond. Let's see what you can do with those little froggy legs.
Thing to take into account is we've seen the Demon Hunter Death Knight matchup, particularly into Frost Assassination Restoration Druid. Not with the added damage of the Holy Paladin and the more instant cast, reliable damage of the Fire Mage. So when you calculate that out with your cooldowns, we've often seen that the Death Knight will use Anti-Magic Zone for Vendetta, like this situation, but it may not be enough when you calculate in the extra damage from the Holy Paladin and the more instant guaranteed damage from the Fire Mage, which is why the Super Frogs went down in game number 1, is because they were relying heavily on that Anti-Magic Zone to be enough. Then when they realized it wasn't, they overreacted and committed too much afterwards. In this situation, they've managed to make it through the initial attack with just the Anti-Magic Zone. However, M2KC have changed up their targeting and they're pressuring Snuts a lot more, potentially trying to mix it up and catch Cubsy off guard, but in this position, Cubsy easily denied it.
Yeah, Snuts seems completely fine. I mean, if you look at what they traded out, it was a lot. Snuts under fire right now, as the Gladiator Safeguard does proc, but he should be completely fine with that Iron Bark. Actually, a full polymorph on Cubsy. Snuts could be in some trouble. One Gladiator's Mallet connects, the second one. Snuts just dancing around the field right now, trying to escape as much damage as possible. Gets caught into a double Dragon's Breath by Jamili. Good crowd control, but now Cubsy's free. In that opening, like I said, they traded out quite a bit. The Blind, the Vanish, the Sap. Cubsy didn't trade out his Trinket. He's really greeting it. They're trying to punish by putting a lot of pressure on Snuts, and he might actually fall.
Snuts is retreating away, and this is a lot of damage from the Mew Mew Kitty Cats in game number 2. They still got Darkness, but they would like to exchange that for something harder hitting than just a crowd control chain. They'd like a crowd control chain plus some cooldown, something like a Vendetta or Combustion. And I do believe that Jamili is playing the cooldown reduction on his Combustion, so he's going to have another one before the Anti-Magic Zone. That could be a big opening for Jamili. However, he's on the back foot. Rubcub needs to recover and stabilize him so he can get aggressive as soon as possible. Then Anti-Magic Zone 20 seconds away from being available. Potentially having to go into the Cauterized Ice Block as he dips very low, looking for a sneaky polymorph. Cubsy able to shapeshift and avoid it. Jamili still being pressured. Rubcub with not many throughput healing increasing cooldowns at the moment. Combustion gets popped in desperation. Anti-Magic Shield denies any damage on Chanimal. Snuts is able to retreat away and avoid damage by using Imprison on Roasties. The mana lead is establishing itself for the Super Frogs. M2KC needs some huge hits and they need them soon.
Yes, Snuts under fire once again. Kidney shot into a cheap shot. Vanish Sap on the Cubsy. Is he ever going to Trinket? There's the full blind. What are they going to do? Anti-Magic Zone trades out. Cubsy deciding to Trinket. He does not want to fall far behind, but now a vulnerable target himself. Snuts, of course, holding onto his Trinket in Darkness. That's an answer for Super Frogs to respond to the next assault of M2KC. If we look at mana, Cubsy with a significant lead right now. I don't really see Rubcub ever being able to sneak away for drinks in this matchup either. So Super Frogs, if they can hold on just a little bit longer, things are going to be looking good for them.
Preemptive Iron Bark from Cubsy, expecting the Hammer of Justice, seeing Rubcub charge across the field. Cubsy predicted the crowd control and denies any damage. Now all 3 members of the Mew Mew Kitty Cats are low on health. Fortunately for them, Avenging Wrath is now available. Rubcub can pull the trigger on that as soon as possible, but gets stunned on it for a couple of seconds, although likely to not be under too much pressure, able to catch a big Holy Light, stabilizing the team, although expending quite a bit of mana. They need to try and get something done during this period of time with Avenging Wrath. We see Jamili making a move, blinking in, cross crowd control, looks solid so far. Snuts respecting that Combustion Vendetta, using his Gladiator's Medallion to break out of crowd control, reconvene with the team to reverse magic a Hammer of Justice. Although now Gladiator's Maledict's being committed as well from M2KC. Snuts is just bobbing and weaving, avoiding Roasties. Chanimal with good chains of ice to hold Roasties at bay. They do survive that crowd control attempt, but now Smoke Bomb is an option for Roasties to find a kill.
Cubsy moves forward, gets a bash onto Roasty. Snuts really tearing in right now. Rubcub has to play catch-up in this situation, but he's basically with no mana left. He's got a lot of defensive cooldowns he can rotate through, but with no mana, it's going to be difficult to keep his team alive due to the consistent pressure of Chanimal and Snuts. Here's an attempt by M2KC onto Cubsy. He responds with the Bark Skin, but that's really all they're going to be able to pull through. There's a short window now, about a 4 or 5 second window where Cubsy will be off stun DR. They can stun him up with no Bark Skin and try to get some pressure rolling, but I think if Cubsy responds appropriately, is in bear form, I don't really see M2KC taking him down.
I think Roasty should get in position to switch to Snuts in midfield and drop a Smoke Bomb, try and 100-0 him, reset the combustion.
Uh-oh, we got caught.
They make the swap. They actually smoke bomb Cubsy, and I'm not the biggest fan.
Look at that overlap.
Overcommit.
What is that?
Entire defensive arsenal for just a smoke bomb. That was a huge bait that Super Frogs just bit.
That was insane. You saw Snuts drop Darkness, Chanimal with the anti-magic zone, Cubsy Trinket out, and Ironbark. I mean, sure, Smoke Bomb's scary, but that wasn't Combustion, that wasn't Vendetta, that wasn't anything, and that's the mistake we saw from Super Frogs in game number 1 that cost them, so they're going to have to figure out something. Cubsy cannot get caught out of form. Once again, you can see Roasty's slowly marching towards Cubsy. He wants to put him in a kidney shot so bad he can taste it, but Cubsy's going to be able to deny and stag for him, and that travel for him just line of sighting him for as long as possible.
You can tell that the Super Frogs don't have a calculated plan of defense when facing this composition, and potentially they're only using the knowledge they've seen from other teams in tournaments, but they don't face the Paladin variant calculating that extra damage, and in this situation they overreacted immediately to not fall behind, which means they're left open for a few minutes moving forward. M2KC really need to take advantage of this time and get something going on their power play, but Cubsy once again sees Rubcub moving in, activates Ironbark right before the stun lands, allowing Snuts to stabilize, but maybe not enough. Roasties gets stunned by Chanimal. Chanimal taking full control of Roasties to protect Snuts from him. Does appear to be a full blind with no Gliders Medallion. This could be it. That huge cooldown overlap is likely to cost the Super Frogs game number 2. Tons of damage, no follow-up. Dragon's Breath whiffs from Jamili, looking for the polymer but not able to find it. No crowd control chain there by M2KC, but in the meantime, Rubcub has drank some mana back to actually have a lead there, although they were looking to end the match at that moment. Definitely unfortunate for M2KC.
But Rubcub does sneak away for a drink, and his mana is looking healthy. Another attempt here on Snuts, full kidney shot. Do they have the damage? Jamili holding on to that combustion. Good pressure here, full Hammer of Justice onto Cubsy, but with no Trinket. Actually, his Trinket just rotated back up, so right now Super Frog's feeling relatively safe. Anti-magic zone's back, Cubsy's healthy, Chanimal's healthy, Snuts. Trinket coming up in 40 seconds. Super Frogs basically rotating through all their defensives once again, and now M2KC, once again, they have to try to find an opening. Could they potentially win this on mana?
I mean, I think the one other win condition is the 40% magic number where Death Knights end up going down. So if Rubcub can maintain his mana at a healthy margin and they make that swap later on in the game, it could be an option. Once again, Cubsy sees Rubcub moving in, activates Ironbark before the crowd control. If this did not happen, Snuts would likely not be alive right now, but Cubsy is positioning himself, which is why they locked in Ashamane's Fall, was more so for Cubsy to have 40-yard range from Rubcub throughout the fight. He could see when swaps are coming, out position, and focus on Mana Rift. Although I do think the smaller maps would benefit them more, and just keeping an eye out and reacting more quickly would have been a better option, because right now they're actually getting stalled out by M2KC. Snuts down at half. Has cooldowns to make the trade, but doesn't want to overcommit. Vendetta Smoke Bomb available. No openings as far as Gladiators Medallions, unfortunately, for that. Potentially they can bait a Trinket with a blind or a swap with Vendetta, then go for a blind play later on to kill Snuts. These could be options before the 40% dampening mark. Cubsy was trying to sit for a drink. Roasties is moving forward. Chains of Ice making it really difficult for him. Now Death Gripped as well. Rubcub unable to find any mana. There's the swap. Are they going to go for the Vendetta bait? Doesn't look like that. They're hoping that Cubsy overreacts, but he is not. That 40-yard positioning, able to avoid Rubcub's extra damage with that positioning and able to survive another swap. But maybe it's ride or die to kill Cubsy at this point. Let's see how he handles it.
Definitely have to see Trinket and Barkskin available, but Ironbark is major defensive. That can keep him alive and empower his heals. Roasty once again gets a re-stealth. This is kind of disastrous for Rubcub. He's in bear form though, gets Hammer of Justice. Rubcub preemptively stunning him up. Roasty's trying to connect. Does he have the kidney shot? Not yet, it doesn't seem like. There it is, out of form. Cubsy, is he gonna fall? Do they have any defensives? Anti-magic zone, darkness trade out. Once again, big cooldown overlap, but maybe they need it. Super Frog's not necessarily in the best spot, but at the same time, Rubcub's falling behind. Jamili under pressure. Roasty could potentially go down as well. Caught into the bash. Cubsy's trying to escape. Beautiful Frost Nova by Jamili, keeping him locked down in center field. If Roasties can get there for a Shadow Step kidney shot, Cubsy could easily fall.
Yeah, Roasties needs to get there soon if they want to take this match. Rubcub totally tapped on mana. Jamili limited on defense. Rubcub caught in crowd control. Gladiators Medallion breaking him out of that. Maybe we see an aggressive Blessing of Protection and all in on Cubsy, but the time is ticking away. Cubsy now with Iron Bark available, can easily deny a kill on himself. Crowd controlling up Chanimal to bait Cubsy to dispel, not falling for the bait, staying in bear form, getting ready for the attack, realizing that he's really the only vulnerability. 11% away from that magic 40% number for Chanimal to become a target for the team of M2KC, but Rubcup doesn't have mana, I don't believe, to make it another 10%, so at this point their only option is kill Snuts in a smoke bomb or ride Cubsy into the ground. Riding Cubsy into the ground is going to be a bit riskier, as Roasties is having a difficult time even connecting. Chains of Ice from Chanimal have been perfect. We see Roasties shadow step to Snuts to try and reconnect. Instead, now crowd controlling Cubsy to switch targets, but Snuts is able to avoid Roasties. Ultimately getting caught. They have Smoke Bomb. Surprising to not see Roasties committed here on this attack. Iron Bark now stalls out the damage. Another defensive cooldown out of the lineup. Jamili, fortunately, Ice Block now available. Blind, they get Trinket from Cubsy. 30 seconds on Vendetta. We could see a swap to Cubsy and just completely annihilate him if they can stabilize. Jamili's so low on health, had to Ice Block amidst all of the chaos. Rubcub has to heal with basically nothing left in the tank. Critical mistake on positioning. They stack up for a double stun. Jamili in desperation. Roasties pulls the trigger on the smoke bomb, trying to get the kill, going for the all-in on 1% remaining health. Can they pull it off? Cubsy still crowd controlled. Jamili tries to find the polymorph, not able to find it. Cubsy jumps over, but it doesn't matter. They've got enough damage. Jamili could fall as well. Will he go down is the question. Chanimal just gunning after him. Jamili will fall. Cross kill. Rubcub's got 0 mana left. Cubsy's got more than enough to keep this going. A bit unfortunate for M2KC in their final push, getting the kill on Snuts first, but ultimately just too much pressure in favor of the Super Frogs. Roasties in desperation tries to set up a swap on the Cubsy to take him out. Chanimal grips Roasties away. Barkskin should be enough. Unless Rubcub can help Roasties stay on target, Cubsy's going to escape to safety. And in this position, when you've got an Unholy Death Knight with the Ghoul chasing you, Rubcub will never find opportunities to drink and regenerate mana, whereas Cubsy right now is just casually chilling in cat form, able to regenerate, I would imagine, at least some semblance of mana, and should be securing the match off that.
Yeah, if you were in a 2v2 match, what would you rather be? A Holy Paladin Assassination Rogue or an Unholy Death Knight Restoration Druid? My money is on the Unholy Death Knight Restoration Druid. I think this is going to be a nightmare situation for M2KC, but with Rubcub and Roasties, they might be able to pull it off. Kitty shot onto Chanimal. Cubsy in a good position, very far away, and like we kind of talked about, Roasties, he wants to be on Cubsy, but it's just so difficult. Chanimal with that very powerful Chains of Ice and Death Grip just makes it such a nightmare. You can see Chanimal just having his way with Rubcub, gripping him back, not allowing him to get crowd control on Cubsy. Cubsy sat down for a little bit of a drink. Rubcub completely tapped on mana, and like you said, Sid, with that Ghoul chasing him down, with the Fire Chains, it's almost impossible for him to drop combat and sit down for drinks.
Cubsy once again trying to get another sip of water, regenerate some mana. Stamping continues to ramp, and Rubcub, really, he needs another minute and 18 seconds. I mean, even if he makes it to that point, he doesn't have mana to heal with his Avenging Wrath. Good crowd control on Cubsy. Chanimal down at half health. They get Cubsy's Trinket on blind. So to me, their only option at this point is to switch with Vendetta, and that's 30 seconds away. Chanimal's got both members at 50% health, and they need 30 more seconds. Divine Shield will buy them some. He did get the Divine Shield on the Glaire's Maledict. At least that threat will be out of the way. Roasty stalls the fight. Chanimal with bad pet control here. The Ghoul switched targets. Rubcub tries to sit down for a drink. Not able to find any mana, and Roasties is just inevitably getting crushed under the damage of Chanimal, with both members so low on health and absolutely no mana left. Mew Mew Kitty Cats can't believe that they're going to ultimately lose this game, having found the kill on Snuts first, but Chanimal's defense is unbreakable. Icebound Fortitude to just finally nail this game out. Super Frogs tie it up, but it can't be this close in this matchup for them.
Yeah, I think that that's something that's really important. When you look at this, though, we get to a cross kill in game number 2, and the Mew Mew Kitty Cats, there is so much on the line for them trying to make it to the land. How do we even get to this scenario with these two compositions, though, that we see a cross kill, that we see Jamili even existing on 1% life 2 times in a row?
Well, it just comes down to a little bit of inexperience. I think on Super Frog's side, they just overlap a little bit too many cooldowns before this point in the game, of course, when Snuts was still alive, and that's what it comes down to. When you react with too many of your defensives, and Mew Mew Kitty Cats play to their win condition, getting a nice CC chain on Cubsy, then you can take Snuts down, but it was still very close. Snuts almost survived there, and then of course at that point you'd already gotten Rubcub out of mana, and there's a couple of small mistakes as well. Honestly, the game should have been over for Mew Mew Kitty Cats before Snuts even died. The fact that during that one blind play, Rubcup got to sit down and have a drink, that just speaks to Chanimal's pet control as well. If he had a little bit better pet control during that situation, then Rubcup would have been out of mana before Snuts also went down. So TLDR, there's been a couple of major mistakes on the side of Super Frogs, but they're also playing, a new composition that they might not be super experienced with against one of the best rogue mages. So it's not that strange. Some of these mistakes are definitely forced as well.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to bring up, the idea of whether or not some of the mistakes are forced, whether they're being pushed into those scenarios due to the inexperience. You bring up some of the micro with pet control, for example. What are the other red flags? I think it's important that we do bring up with the Super Frogs. This is a team that, critiquing them isn't something we do very often. I think overall you're going to be commending them for playing this composition. 540 points, but we're going to be talking about that when we get back. The Super Frogs right now trying to take down the Mew Mew Kitty Cats with a brand new composition. New in-game toys, they're available right now. They make you look cool, and they support the prize pool for players. It's pretty awesome. If you want to check it out, you can do it. It's right there on the stream. I already have. It's a lot of fun. It is definitely a lot of fun, but let's actually talk about the players and the fact that they are trying to qualify right now to play for one of the biggest prize pools ever with M2 and Mew Mew Kitty Cats right now, facing a tough situation with the Super Frogs, flexing once again, trying to play more and more compositions. Obviously, we see a little bit of inexperience with them currently with the composition, and I wanted to talk about that because it looks like we should see the same compositions play out throughout most of the way. Jamili is going to be on Frost here. As we do look at the Super Frogs, though, where are we seeing that inexperience, Eco?
Well, it just comes down to some of these swaps onto Cubsy. They've just been reacting a little bit too much for them. We see a kidney shot on Cubsy, and then immediately Darkness, Anti-Magic Zone, Trinket, Barkskin, just every cooldown being used there. And that creates a lot of openings for the Mew Mew Kitty Cats. They can then choose if they want to go after Snuts in a smoke bomb, or if they want to go after Cubsy later on, or if they, potentially use their blind and set up a kill that way, or a drink that way. So some of those things, and then of course there's also some minor things like I think Snuts could be going for a couple of more mana rifts. He's been landing most of his mana rifts. His timings has been actually quite good, but I think he can actually go for it a little bit more, have a bit more confidence and push in after Rubcups sometimes, and Chanimal as well could have a little bit better pet control at times, and it's also a team effort. Sometimes as the DK you want to have your pet on the kill target, but then your healer needs to be the one pushing forward to stop the drinks, or Snuts needs to do that. So it's also a team effort in that regard, but I want to see Chanimal have a little bit better pet control.
It's also interesting that pet control is the thing that's getting criticized by Chan right now, rather, when he's played Warlock forever, right? Like, this is something we know he can do. He can figure out how to get that pet control. So I'm kind of curious if that's showing us that it's overall just a lack of practice and actually figuring out what strategies they want to do. Are they doing this, you think, particularly for the Mew Mew Kitty Cats, or do you think that they're practicing it for LAN?
I'm pretty sure Chanimal actually made this Death Knight, or his Death Knight, about 2 weeks ago, something like that. So fairly new class for him, and I mean, it does speak volumes that he can go toe-to-toe with a team like M2KC so early on. I mean, Roasty on Rogue, if Jamili on Mage, Rubcup on Holy Paladin, and Chanimal on his 2-week-old Death Knight, still going toe-to-toe and tie up in the series.
I think it also does go to show as well that this is a team, Super Frogs, where they have really meshed, and they are a powerhouse team, because you look at Chan last year, and we keep saying, yeah, if the meta swings in his favor, he's going to be fantastic. He says, the heck with that, man. I'm going to adapt to the meta. If the meta is in my favor, sure, I'll destroy it, but I'll destroy anything that comes my way. Super Frogs, 540 points, trying to bank even more.
All right, I'm curious why we see Super Frogs going for the large maps and then M2KC going for the small maps. To me, it says that M2KC want to play aggressive and constantly go after the healer. And by picking the larger maps, Cubsy can then more easily deal with that, potentially. However, on the small maps, it's much easier for Snuts to get to his target and Mana Rift more frequently. So let's see if Snuts can capitalize on that advantage that he will have in this match, whereas Cubsy will have a lot more pressure thrown onto him throughout this to stay alive in the fight. Cannot afford to be caught out of form. Roasty's going for Vendetta without a stun, just trying to pressure, maybe bait something a little early on, but they don't find anything with it. Roasty's now goes for the kidney shot, catches Cubsy out of form. Jamili double Frost Nova. Good crowd control by Jamili and Roasty's. Excellent teamwork. Cubsy dips very low on health. How are they going to commit to the situation? Darkness now used as well. Will it be enough for Cubsy to stay alive? We've seen this situation in the past, and it may not be the case. M2KC take game number 3 going face.
Oof. Wow.
I feel like there's something going on here. I actually have a question. I'm not exactly sure. I want to know what honor talent Snuts
I don't think
playing.
he's playing Cover of
I don't think he's
Darkness.
playing Cover of Darkness, which I think is a big mistake in this particular matchup, because normally you have Darkness as a safety net. You can drop down and you will live 100%. But if you're not playing that Cover of Darkness, all of a sudden it becomes much more risky, and teams can push through and just take you down instantly.
It's definitely that.
Yeah, okay.
Has to be.
That's one thing that we'll double check on. Zico, what do you think happened there?
Well, let's just look. it felt like Cubsy had his trinket, Chanimal had his anti-magic zone, Snuts responded with the darkness, which should be enough. So Cubsy gets a kidney shot, Jamila blinks in, the Maledics get committed, Barkskin respecting the damage. So far, okay. So maybe...
Is it possible he's not running Guardian Affinity? No, that has to be Frenzy Regen. Maybe not.
I'm not sure about that darkness. It definitely looks like he's not running Cover of Darkness, and the zone is late as well. I mean,
He's reverse magic. He's got Big Imprison, and he's got Mana Rift, so he can't be running Cover of Darkness.
Oh, then there you go.
What do you think of those choices overall? Like, why do you run that instead of Cover of Darkness?
I mean, I wonder if he really needs reverse magic. Like, they're just killing Cubsy every time. It's not like Polymorph is really that big of an issue, I guess.
He reversed the Hammer of Justice there.
Yeah.
But it didn't really do that much. I mean, he still had a Vanish Sheep Shot.
I would like to know if Raikou runs it or not now. I'm pretty sure he does, but I'm trying to think what he drops for it.
I think he drops the Big Imprison.
You sure? Because that's what he's using to get Mana Rifts.
I'm pretty sure, man. I think you can still do it from the small imprisonment. You just have to not break it.
Possibly. I think it makes more sense to me to be running the Cover of Darkness so you don't die to that all in, especially versing the Paladin variant.
Okay, I think either way, what we have to look at here is the fact that Super Frogs do not look fantastic on this composition yet. Varuki already mentioned that about 2 weeks maybe is how long that they have been practicing it. Do they stick on this composition throughout the entirety of this series because of the strength that it has into what the Mew Mew Kitty Cats are bringing to the table?
I still think it should win. I think if they play it right, it definitely should have an edge in this particular matchup. I mean, maybe the Holy Paladin skews things in their favor, but I can't imagine it really would. It is a little bit different because you have the extra offense of the Holy Paladin with the damage with the Avenged Crusader, as well as the Hammer of Justice stun, so your stun locks are a lot longer on the Restoration Druid, and I think they're just doing a really good job with their all-ins, with their Maledict trinkets, sort of catching them off guard. Jamili's doing a really good job with his positioning. He's always baiting Chanimal and Snuts very far away, getting them locked down in just a single Frost Nova, and Cubsy basically, he can't really help them. He can't dispel them, because if he does, then he gets caught into a kidney shot out of form, and I really just think M2KC, they're just exploiting some of the inexperience that Super Frogs really has on this melee cleave, and they're getting wins because of it, and they're really setting themselves up great in this tournament and to qualify to the spring finals.
Yeah, I honestly think if they win this, they probably just go to the spring finals.
There's a good chance.
It looks like that. I have a bunch of pieces of paper that basically tell me that that's what's going to happen if they are able to win this. I mean, next up, you have the boys go up against Never Lucky. Never Lucky going against the boys. Can they take it? Yeah. Is it going to be difficult as heck for them? Yeah. I know that they're in really high spirits right now. Colo was actually messaging me like, I guess it was probably like 2 days ago, and he was just like, yo, watch this. Like, just showing stuff that the team's been working on. Like, they are in high spirits. That's something that's really important. I think that they're really confident, but going against the boys, that's a tough matchup. That's a really tough matchup. The chances of them going down to lower, they're at least as high as I thought the chances Mew Mew Kitty Cats would. And Mew Mew Kitty Cats, they have that added advantage of being favored, forcing Super Frogs to make mistakes, forcing Super Frogs to try something new. And then you talk about the strength of the move as a team. Well, they're already in the lower bracket. They don't have much wiggle room. It's just a tougher day. Mew Mew Kitty Cats might just run away with this right here and right now.
Yeah, I mean, if Mew Mew Kitty Cats wins, it's not like they're automatically qualified, but they're in a very good position to be that. As soon as the Move and Never Lucky are out of the tournament, then they're obviously going to be all the way qualified, and that looks very likely because the Move is in the lower bracket. If Super Frogs loses here, then the Super Frogs are also going to be in the lower bracket. So you have Method Orange and Super Frogs already in the lower bracket, and then you're going to have either Never Lucky or the boys in the lower bracket. If that happens, then you're going to have the Move for sure out of this tournament. I mean, they're going to have to go against the entire top three. I would bet against them to win that, and then you would have Never Lucky versus Mew Mew Kitty Cats in the upper, and then whoever wins that is going to have a pretty good chance as well. So it's still very open, but the Mew Mew Kitty Cats are going to be pulling ahead big time if they actually win this one.
This bracket is literally a playground for Jamili, though. I mean, they enter this one 20 points behind, right? They're 20 points behind their biggest competition in Never Lucky. If we see Never Lucky drop down, like you did mention, it is just non-stop kicks to the teeth on the lower side of the bracket. It's all of the top teams getting sent down over and over and over and over. The Move has probably the hardest day that they've ever had. Like, it will be a miracle if the Move manages to qualify for LAN. The Mew Mew Kitty Cats, if they win this, there is a chance that they don't need to win another matchup, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure the other teams can just fall down by themselves, and the Mew Mew Kitty Cats could secure it. So that's super important as we do enter Tolvaron Arena. How's this space going to fare for the Mew Mew Kitty Cats? Now we're getting a lot of room for them.
Well, like we kind of talked about, it seems like M2KC, they want the small maps. They want to be able to just sit on Cubsy forever. What Super Frogs want is not even necessarily a large map. They want large pillars. Cubsy wants to be able to just be in travel form and run around in circles while Roasties is caught in chains of ice. Chanimal on that Death Knight has very powerful snares, and that's what Super Frogs is really looking to exploit to keep them alive as long as possible. Whereas on the small maps, it's really easy for Roasties to reconnect to his target and put a lot of pressure onto Cubsy. So I think that's really the game plan. It's not really about the big maps, it's more about a large pillar.
Sid, how do they protect Cubsy here?
Respec Cover of Darkness and drop Detainment.
Do we think it's the Detainment, though, that does need to go away? So the main reason that you run Detainment is to try to secure more mana rifts, correct?
Well, I mean, the way that Stunts is using, he's using it defensively a lot. He's just using it on the Rogue to try and stop Roasties from attacking, which, I mean, it makes sense. It's more crowd control more frequently, but if you're dying to an all-in during the triple Maledicts, I guess if you really try and assess it, Darkness is a 3-minute cooldown. That Gladiator's Maledict to all-in is a 2-minute. So sure, Snuts could run cover and just trade it for that first all-in, but then if M2KC set it up right away, what is...
Rosita Jones' debut.
Okay, why do they react to the fact that now the big beefy pillars are there, the maps
I think that's it. I mean, we just saw Roasties have such a nightmare time. I mean, they ended up bringing the game to a 2v2, but like we said, that was mostly off Super Frogs making a few mistakes. I just think they've realized that it's really difficult for Roasty and Jamili to stay on target, and their only target really seems to be Cubsy. So on this large map, I think they're just throwing a curveball. I mean, we know Jamili plays Shadow Priest quite a bit. I haven't seen him play it that much in this expansion, but I'm sure he can manage it. He's played it in lots of other expansions than Rosita Jones. He's the new 4th member on their team, a phenomenal player coming in on that Death Knight. I think this composition's good. It was just, what is Super Frogs going to run? That's the real question.
I mean, you can say whatever you want about Jamili, but one of the things that you can't say is he's not somebody who can pick up classes very quickly, too. Like, his rotation of being able to multi-class, it's like, Moonkin, Mage, everything. Like, it's so funny because there were, like, seasons where we barely saw him on his Mage, and he still did perform. Him on Shadow Priest, pretty confident that'll look good. We're actually going to see in response, though, Chanimal going back to his Warlock. I want to talk more about the Shadow Priest. Obviously, this is Rosita's debut on this team. We've seen him in this season while he was still on for fun. Exciting to get to see that, but this composition, all in all, not something that we do see every day, Zico. Shadow Priest, a little bit stronger in this tournament than it was in the past. It was a big talking point yesterday.
Yeah, the spell magic's mana cost got reduced, which is really nice for a Shadow Priest, especially against these Druid teams. You can dispel a lot of those healing over time effects. And another thing that was reduced is the mana cost of Purge. And that could be why we see Rubcub on that Restoration Shaman as well. They're going to have a lot of damage over time effects. They're going to have a lot of self-healing with the Shadow Priest and the DK. And they're going to have very low cost dispels that can remove those healing over time effects from Cubsy. So they could look to get a lot of pressure onto Chanimal using those abilities. But I still think that both teams are running kind of a tanky comp. And with Chanimal on his Warlock in the mix, I think that he's going to be able to shut down Jamili a fair bit here on the Shadow Priest, and Snuts is probably going to be investing most of his time as well targeting that Shadow Priest.
Sid, does this look like another 5-game series to you between these two teams?
Yeah, possibly. I'm interested to see how this composition plays out with the double Purge and Necrotic Strike. This could be a way for M2KC to overwhelm the Restoration Druid from Super Frogs, and this is the first time we've seen this composition play, I believe, in a tournament setting, or at least in this current patch. So it's a bit of a surprise factor, and when you're already up a point and you'll have Game 5 advantage anyway, even if you lose, I think this was a good idea by M2KC to just try and throw something curvy and see how it fares, because the Super Frogs, they're going back to this Destruction Warlock composition. They don't want to be running the Demon Hunter Death Knight, which I also think could have done decently well into this as well. I actually think it might have done better than the Rogue Lock that they're currently running. And I'm just interested to see how the matchup plays out since the recent changes.
All in all, Mew Mew Kitty Cats, I think, are looking incredibly well prepared, at least for this series, and that bodes well for them.
We'll see how it goes. I mean,
I like it. It's fun.
We were saying Super Frogs is looking really good now that they have a melee cleave, but that melee cleave didn't look too hot. So, I mean, M2KC, sure, they brought in another composition, but if they just lose instantly with it, then who cares, right? So, we'll have to see how it plays out to really give them too much credit.
It's good logic.
Yeah.
It's pretty good logic. Yeah, we were pretty excited for that melee cleave, and look where that melee cleave is now. Not in the arena, that's for sure. Back on the drawing board with that one. Maybe we see it a little bit later in this series, but this is also one of those moments with these high-level teams where we see, okay, we know what they want with the map. Let's start there, and then the Super Frogs having that full advantage can kind of wheel and deal, try to pilot a scenario that is going to be ideal for them. Tolvaron Arena, though, Mew Mew Kitty Cats say, not today. Here's the curveball coming straight at your face, and it's going to be Jamili on the Shadow Priest and Rosita finally getting used. Like, even on our notes for these teams that we kind of wrote out, it just says, what is Rosita Jones doing? ? Will they use him? Finally, we have an answer, and it is going to be on that Death Knight. I mean, I know we joked around a lot, Zico saying, maybe they play double Fire Mage at some point. I don't think that that's what we are going to see. Maybe this is one of those comps, though, that they have been practicing.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't joking around when I said that. I want to see it.
I mean, I would love to see it, right?
We're not messing around.
We're 100% serious.
Double Destro, double Fire, Game 5.
I'm definitely
Mugambala, the prophecy.
the prophecy in the finals. I like that. But yeah, it's good to see Rosita Jones on a new home. He was, like you mentioned, on For Fun, and I believe Whoopi made a statement saying that he's not going to compete anymore, and that team kind of disbanded. So he got picked up by the Mew Mew Kitty Cats, and we're not going to see him on that Fire Mage like we typically do, but he has been playing that DK. Even in his previous roster, he was utilized as a DK as well. He's been a big multi-classer for his team in the past, so he's going to be one of those flex players for Mew Mew Kitty Cats, now making his debut here on Tolvaron Arena.
Well, he's got 3 or 4 classes that we've seen look really strong on the tournament level. Jamili, obviously somebody who can multi-class. You look at Rubcub, and it really just is one of those things where how many specs can Rubcub play?
Bit of a yikes moment for Rubcub, getting caught in Hibernate in that Ghost Wolf. Definitely wants to be shapeshifting and avoiding that. Good punish by Cubsy early on. They managed to bank Glaire's Medallion from Rubcub. Could be an opening to switch to him now moving forward. Chanimal, in the meantime, is ramping up his Infernals, but being pressured quite heavily, and that double Dispel could be throwing Cubsy for a loop. Chanimal now fully ramped, looking for big Chaos Bolts. One Chaos Bolt gets dispersed instantly by Jamili, respecting that ramp that Chanimal has been building for some time. I think that's more than a fair exchange. However, was overlapped with the Earthen Wall Totem. The defense of M2KC, I would say, is being managed decently well, but could be slightly better. And because of that, we could see the Super Frogs capitalize for a punish. Smoke bomb opportunity maybe onto Rubcub moving forward. I'm more curious to see how the mana situation plays out here on Tolvaron Arena, if Rubcub can maintain his mana later into the fight. Double Mortal Coil, good setup, and this is where the mismanagement of cooldowns could end up costing M2KC the match as Glaire's Maledict fly in. Jamili gets bashed in the smoke bomb and is likely to go down. Spiritling Totem 1 second away from connecting, and even the slightest error when facing a team like the Super Frogs is going to be punished.
Don't you look at me like that, Fenrique. I'm never getting excited for a new composition again. Oh, I'm sorry that I dreamed. I'm sorry that I saw this composition and I got excited for something new. I'm sorry that you're right. Again, always.
Yeah, well,
that looked terrible.
Yeah, it didn't look too good for them. Unfortunately, there was a few nice attempts. Like at the end of the match, you saw Rosita Jones. He gripped in Cubsy, looking for an asphyxiate. Jamili wanted to push in and land a fear out of that, or a psychic scream, but Chanimal denied it with a beautiful double mortal coil, and things just fell apart.
This is where the trades, I think, should have been different. They should have used anti-magic zone on Infernals from Chanimal. Then they could have used dispersion here and allowed Earthen Wall or anti-magic zone to be enough earlier. I mean, they could have even anti-magic zoned in this push. So it's just cooldown mismanagement and poor shot calling from the side of M2KC.
And there his safeguard should have procced if he was wearing it.
He didn't
but
use
he
one.
wasn't wearing one, so yep. He's gonna get caught up in that smoke bomb and no void shift available for him.
They had options, they just didn't have a game plan.
Didn't look too well rehearsed.
I have to say, that's one of the things about M2KC is when they play Rogue Mage Paladin, it's always like, okay, they're playing phenomenal, you know, like they're making good trades, they're forcing mistakes, but they try these other compositions, and I mean, on paper they seem good, but they just never have the proper execution. I don't know if they just don't have them practiced or what, but that's my major piece of criticism is they have all these different compositions. I just don't know how much they've rehearsed them, and they just don't seem to be able to execute when they run them.
Yeah, we're going to give them a second to regain, because imagine if they don't go to land now and that game was the reason. We'll see after this. A game plan, practice. These are things that win you tournaments. Having Jamilian compositions evidently does not. We do not want to see that composition again. It didn't look super strong. It didn't look like it had a win condition.
Well, against that, I mean, to give M2KC a little bit of credit, I don't blame them for trying something. Maybe they expected Super Frogs to try to run something else into that, and they had practiced that particular matchup. I mean, Super Frogs is one of these teams, they do have a lot of compositions at their disposal, but this is really interesting. We're going to be going to Hook Point on game number 5. This is M2KC's map pick. Super Frogs blind locking their best composition, that Rogue Lock Druid, into M2KC's Rogue Mage Paladin, and this is a true battle of titans.
This is perfect. This we're happy about. Just forget everything else that's happened in the series, because right now the Mew Kitty Cats, they are trying to secure a land spot against the #1 team in North America, and it's the best against the best. They're both on their best compositions. This game going to decide the whole darn thing.
All right, M2KC going straight for Chanimal here in game number 5. Potential qualification on the line. Cubsy getting sapped at the end of the crowd control chain. Chanimal, will he be able to survive with just the unending resolve on such low health? Rosie's is maybe setting up to swap to Cubsy in cat form. This could be devastating if they are able to nail the kidney shot. They go for the blind. They silence the trinket. Will Chanimal be able to hold on? The crowd control chain was endless. They managed to stay alive, though, without overcommitting their cooldowns. Rosie's, however, with Vendetta, might be able to make a power play. We have to see if Rubcub can initiate crowd control. M2KC could win momentarily if they don't respond appropriately. Hammer of Justice secured. Vendetta gets popped, and M2KC are looking to advance in the upper finals. Crowd control secured. No way for Chanimal to stay alive, and M2KC have done it. They're going to stay in that upper final, and this is, if you're the move in the lower bracket now, if you're never lucky and you don't win your next series, the pressure is on.
This is looking so good for the Mew Kitty Cats. Like we did say a little bit earlier, never lucky. Mew Kitty Cats in the move. These are the 3 teams that we're looking at in North America. These are the 3 teams that could make it to the LAN. It was 20 points behind for the Mew Kitty Cats. When you look at Never Lucky, who was the closest team with 200. They had 220, the Mew Kitty Cats, when they did enter this. Now they've secured their spot on the winner's side of the bracket. Zico, how did they do it?
Well, it was at the back of Roasties there towards the start of that one. Right here, he's been crowd controlling Cubsy for pretty much the entirety of the game. He got his big sap there into a resap, into a blind, into a Garrote on the trinket, forcing out the unending resolve, forcing out the trinket as well of Cubsy. And then after that, it's of course Jamili and Rubcup to really secure the deal here. Cubsy getting caught out of form is going to cost him here because the Ring of Frost was stopped, but not the polymorph, unfortunately. Now, if he was only in bear form for that crowd control chain, an easy stop on that Ring of Frost would have been enough to shut down that scenario completely and allow Chanimal to live. So, nice timing there on that Hammer of Justice from Rubcup. Nice follow-up from Jamili. And they had the damage and the smoke bomb as well to follow that up.
Man,
nice stuff.
It's just a double victory, though, for the Mimi Kitty Cats. Like, it's so insane to look at how this bracket did take form, because not only do you get the win and progress, but you just took down the #1 team in North America and sent them down to the lower bracket to take out the rest of your competition.